Take it easy and solve the school lunch problem with SPAM. S-P-A-M.
こんにちは、タイガークローラジオ。You are listening now. Back J.
You are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Number 1 in vintage computer and video game entertainment. And now your host, Critical Failure.
Yes, friends, boys and girls, you know what time it is. It's time for Tiger Claw Radio. I'm your host, Critical Failure. This week is Chiptunes Win Volume 8. It just came out. It came out just at the same time last week's episode was coming out, so it's been on an entire week now. I got a copy of it. We're going to check it out together. On top of that, we got some van casting, we got some video games, got a little of this, got a little of that. It's going to be a great show. We're going to kick things off with Dimeback. Dimeback has track number 2 on this. How many tracks are on this crazy thing? 52. Track 2 of 52. I saw this guy perform at MagFest last year, and it was just pretty great. He had some really good stuff. So looking forward to it. Stick with us. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Is that not killer? Is that not a killer track? That's that guy's got some talent. I will he's got the power of the Groovetron. Okay. All right, that's enough. Here's what we're going to do, boys and girls. You know how this works by now. We're going to go back in time and see how the week went. We're going to see. Hey, this is being recorded on Friday afternoon. Right now, everything's gravy. Everything is great. But it's been a long journey to get here. Let's see how it went down. We're going to the van. Stick with us on Tiger Claw Radio. Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday morning. Time for the van cast. I feel like I'm starting this late this week. I had Monday, I just had one of those quiet rides to work, which I do every once in a while. The whole thing just feels a little psychotic for whatever reason. I was just like, all right, I need 45 minutes of dead silence, just alone inside my head. Yeah, because that was how I survived Monday. Tuesday I worked from home, and here we are. It's nice out this morning. It seems like the heat has waned a little bit, which is good. It rained a little bit last night, but yeah, I'm having a good morning. I don't know exactly what the temperature is, but it's a lot cooler than it has been. So last night, my wife and I went out and we saw the new Tarantino movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and we dug it, man. I dug it a lot, and my wife, what's weird is my wife is not one for gory movies at all, and she really wanted to see this one. So yeah, it was a bit of a smash hit for us in a time when I'm not really into Hollywood movies. I don't like. I really, movies are not my thing, and it feels like I've now gone to the movies twice inside of a month, and that hasn't happened for me in a great many years. It was so close to the last time that I saw some of the same trailers, which I wasn't expecting. But it was cool. We had a good time, man. It was a fun movie. Tarantino still knows how to do it. And hang on a second real quick. The theater we go to has been upgraded quite a bit. The seats were really wide and comfortable, and they recline and all this stuff. They made it real fancy. I remember back in the old days we had I'm sure some theaters still have these like cheesy old seats that are clumped together, and you share the armrests. So yeah, you got to keep your arm up on that armrest the whole time, because otherwise, if you move, the guy next to you is going to get it, and then there you go. It's like being on a plane. Battle Royale for the armrests there. But all that was replaced with these like fancy recliner seats. And what sucks is you have to reserve your seat on a chart like before you enter the theater now, which I just can't get used to. We picked the seat out. This has happened both times we went to the theater. We picked the seat out. We go in. Now, I'm used to going to baseball games. I'm not a big sports guy, but I do like baseball on some level. So we would go to baseball games to see the Nationals play, and your ticket has a seat number on it. Now, at baseball games, it's common for people to buy a ticket and then just sit wherever. Well, these seats are open. We're going to go sit there. So I always have anxiety, like going to my seat, whether or not there's going to be somebody there, be it somebody just sitting wherever, or maybe somebody old and confused who just picked the wrong seat and didn't realize it, and both have happened, So we go to these numbered seats, sit and watch a movie. It was a good time, man. It's a good time. And that is the final movie that I have any interest in seeing right now in the theaters, unless it's one of these like special engagements for an old movie. We've got a theater downtown that plays old movies especially this month, there's a lot of like old movies they're going to show on the big screen that I would love to get out to see. Specifically, The Great Escape, starring Steve McQueen, which is an old favorite of mine. I know I've talked about this era in my life quite a bit, but there was a time when my wife and I were first together. We had a very small television. I want to say like 17 inches. It was a tube TV. And we didn't have a car. So we bought this tube TV at Best Buy at the time. I think this was probably like 2004 or 2005. We bought the tube TV and we had to take it home on the bus. So we rode the bus back to the neighborhood, and then I had to walk through the streets, probably about half a mile, carrying this tube TV. And I still have it. I'm never letting this thing go. We would sit and watch the tube TV with a little VCR hooked up to it, and watch any VHS tapes we could get a hold of. Now, mind you, this was like the peak of the DVD era. So VHS tapes, you could find them. I mean, you could still find them, but they were readily accessible for very cheap. Right? There was a little record store that would sell the VHS tapes for $1 a piece. So we would go down there, and we would, with like $10, and we would get a huge stack of movies. And that was like the entertainment for the week, or for however long it needed to be. And it was quaint, but it was a really great time. You know, we didn't have any kids yet. We were just like enjoying each other. We would sit on these lawn chairs in our living room because we didn't have a whole lot of money, and watch VHS tapes on our little tube TV. Now, during that time, I saw like some of the world's greatest movies, because they were like these old Hollywood epic films, you know, being sold for $1 a piece. And that's how I came to see The Great Escape. I had a particular affection for movies that spanned across 2 VHS tapes. That was something about that captured my imagination. Saw The Great Escape. I remember that week or weekend, I saw 3 giant 2-tape movies. One was The Great Escape with Steve McQueen. One was The Sand Pebbles, which also had Steve McQueen and a very, very young Candice Bergen as like the love interest, which seems weird now. And I can't remember what the third one was. I think it might have been Around the World in 80 Days. The 1950s one that had all the cameos in it. Michael Todd's Around the World in 80 Days. Those are all 2-tape movies that I had. Or no, maybe it wasn't Around the World in 80 Days. I think it was The Longest Day, which is another huge, like, star-studded World War II movie. Yeah, so The Great Escape is being put up on this theater, and I want to go see it so bad, man. It's not gonna happen because I got, you know, it's tough to find time to get out, and it's like in the middle of the week at like a weird time. But I would love to see that movie on the big screen. I would love it. I'd love to see that movie again, period. I haven't seen it in forever, and I think the last time I saw it was on that VHS tape. So I think during my lunch break, I might be cruising around eBay looking for a $5 DVD, because goodness knows it's not going to be on Netflix. But I digress. So this is the time in the show where I usually spend a little time just talking about what's happened over the weekend, since I wrapped last week's recording. Maybe I played a game or two, maybe I didn't, what have you. But this time I have played a couple. Start with Final Fantasy VII. This was the first time playing Final Fantasy VII since the stream that I did like a week ago, or a week and a half ago, or however long it's been now. And I made some decent progress in it. let's see where I'm at now. I'm still digging the game. I pushed forward through the flashback. You get to see the scene where Sephiroth burns Nibelheim to the ground, or rather, there's a big fire anyway, and he kind of turns. You see the close-up of FMV of Sephiroth, and he turns around and walks back into the fire. And then shortly after that is the scene where he like pulls the Genova off of the wall, and there's like blood going everywhere and stuff. Very weird, but cool. It's like iconic scenes from the first half of Final Fantasy VII. And all that happened the very last time I played, which was awesome. And where I left off was, let's see, I did the part where you have to catch a chocobo, and you go through the marshes, and then there's a cave, and I went through the cave. And when you come out the other side is the Condor battle, and that's where I left off. So if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII, at this point, there's like a tower, and you essentially there's a mini game where you have to deploy soldiers, and then enemy soldiers start climbing up this tower. And it essentially becomes like a real-time strategy sort of mini-game type thing. But it costs a lot of gil, a lot of money to play the mini-game. Even though, so it's a side quest, very skippable, but I wanted to do this thing. I set out to do the Condor defense side quest. Fort Condor, or whatever it's called. So that's where I left off. I'm out grinding around this Fort Condor, killing enemies, just trying to, get some money together, level up the squad a little bit, and go smash this mini game. Because I never beat Final Fantasy VII, but I've attempted to play through it many times. And that includes getting past where I am now. And, I've never played this thing, this mini game before, so I have my heart set on knocking it dead, which should be cool. Yeah, Final Fantasy VII on the PC has been a good buy. I've been enjoying it very much, but that wasn't the only game I played. I also, on a lark, started trying Euro Truck Simulator 2. Even saying those words sounds boring. I think Euro Truck Simulator 2 comes with a huge asterisk. So let's talk about it real quick. If you've never played it, this is a game that was like, when it came out, I can't remember what year it came out, but it's been several years now. It sparked like a surge in those simulator type games. People really loved it. It was considered a super comfy game. It was brought up on a lot of comfy game threads ever since. It's a beloved game, okay? So my friend and I from work have a thing where we buy each other Steam games that are either weird or kind of off the beaten path, usually very strange, right? A couple of games of note. He picked up Getting Over It by Bennett Foddy for me. That's how I finally get to play that. And a game that I got for him was the original Euro Truck Simulator. Well, he got hooked on it. Ended up buying the sequel. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to work, and he's like telling me, hey man, I got this, that, and the other, and it's really cool. So okay, so I'll give it a shot. So fast forward to Friday night. Here's me and this guy from work, and we're playing Doom 2 online, which we do, every once in a while. My buddy's a big Doom 2 guy. He knows a lot of like obscure custom modes in Doom 2 that get played online. And he was telling me about them at work, so I wanted to give it a try. So we got online, we got on Doom Seeker, which is where all the people are, and we're looking around, and there's nothing, man. On that particular evening, none of the cool modes were getting played. We tried this like Total Combat mode that had a lot of people, but it was very weird. It's one of those MOBA type things where you use cash to buy supplies. So there's like a balance of power. So if you lose enough times, then your team doesn't have enough money and the other team has plenty of money. And the end result was me taking a pistol and trying to kill a battle mech, and it didn't work well. So I threw my hands up with Doom 2, and I was like, all right, I'm tired of this for tonight. Let's try Euro Truck Simulator 2. Let's just give it a little go. So fired up Euro Truck Simulator 2, started playing it, and yeah, it stuck. And I played it quite a bit. So over the last weekend, I probably put 5 hours into Euro Truck Simulator 2, which is a ton for me to put in any game over a single weekend, considering I have a pregnant wife and 2 children to take care of. But yeah, it captured my imagination. It's the weirdest thing, because any part of Euro Truck Simulator 2 that you put on paper is going to sound terrible and boring. But I think the multi-monitors helps for me. I spent this morning, before coming out here and recording the Vancast, on my right-hand monitor, because I have 3 monitors. The middle one is where the game is, and then on the right-hand monitor, I put like a string of YouTube videos. Just started watching them while driving the truck. It's a good time. I actually have a steering wheel. I didn't use it this morning, but I have a steering wheel set up, like a racing wheel with pedals for my PC. And the only time I ever really used it was playing the original Euro Truck Simulator. I remember I went through a phase where I had the steering wheel hooked up and I would just drive the truck. It's bizarre. I don't know. I really don't know how they made that game work, because you're really just driving around and checking stuff out, and a lot of times not even checking stuff out, just driving around, and that's it. Yep, it's definitely an odd case study when it comes to video games. So it's Wednesday. It's kind of hard to think about what I'm looking forward to playing over the weekend, but I can tell you, over on my Steam profile, I maintain a little showcase, right? You know, the showcases that you get when you pass levels on Steam or whatever. And it's the Game Collector's Showcase, where you just pick out 4 games arbitrarily. Now, for the longest time, I had the idea, let's pick 4 games that you can't buy on Steam anymore, and that'll be my showcase. These days, I try and keep the games I'm actually playing in those slots. And if you were to go look at it today, it would say Final Fantasy VII. It would say the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle, because I still haven't beat Knights of the Round yet, which is the last game. It would say Zafe House Diaries 2, which is a brilliant, like, tabletop role-playing text-only game about a zombie apocalypse. I can't say enough good things about Zafe House Diaries 2. Well, and Euro Truck Simulator 2. Yeah, so those are the games. So hopefully, when I make it through the week, I'll have a little time this Friday. I can put my feet up and enjoy some more of those 4 games. And with that, boys and girls, I'm driving directly into the sun right now, so I'm going to go ahead and get off of here for safety's sake. Send you guys back to the studio. I'll see you there. Oh yes, back in the studio, feeling good. I'm going to take a quick look at, I want to take a quick minute to thank the sponsors. This is a Patreon-sponsored program, everybody. I don't have any companies willing to support this show. No, it's not companies, it's individuals. So to these guys, I can offer early access to the show, and I read their names off in a hall of distinguished gentlemen, because they give their resources to make sure every week TCR comes back for another round. So they are Hemrock, James, Sendu, Tecmo Balls, Daravka, and Konstantin Kelman. Thank you guys so much for your support, and stick with us. We got some more stuff coming up. Now, the next thing we're going to do, at 25 minutes in, we're going back to Chiptunes Win Volume 8. Again, this is a free album, by the way. These come out, the main series, Chiptunes Win releases, these compilations come out from them once a year. So this is the big 2019 release. 52 tracks, and it's a party. This next track is from Scythe. It's called Green Wind. This is the 11th track off the album, by the way. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. You know, it's all chiptune, but the style varies so much. It's kind of difficult to take one of these Chiptunes Equals Win compilations and pin it down to just a few sample tracks here on TCR. But I'm doing the best I can. And I think that is a very good example of some of the stuff that's on here. And with that, boys and girls, at 30 minutes in, we're going to go back to the van. And I've only got 2 of these, so this is the final time for the week, going back to the van. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Good morning, everybody. It's the Vancast. It's Thursday morning. All right, let me a second. I'm getting ready to pull out from in front of the house, get out on the road, do my Thursday at work. It's been a good morning. Good morning. You guys know I have about an hour to play games before I head out. And this morning, when I got on, Alex Swingle and Darabka were there in Discord kicking it around. So I got to play some Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle with Sean. We played Knights of the Round. And yeah, it was a good time. Good time was had by all. So I'm headed off to work in rare spirits. Feeling good, man. It's 6:20 in the morning. Oh boy. So I spent last night, I was in one of those moods where it was like, I had probably 20 minutes left before it was time to go to bed. So I felt like I didn't really have time to dive headfirst into a game, right? I couldn't play Final Fantasy VII. 20 minutes is not enough time to, make it from one save point to another. So I started looking over my Steam library, and I started adding non-Steam games, which is something I haven't done in a long time. A very long time ago, probably like 5 or 6 years ago, I went through adding, like, every game I added to Steam. All my games that are outside of Steam, all like the applications I like to use, everything. And I went and got some custom Steam library icons, and I did the whole bit. I got everything set up. And then, for whatever reason, the next time I launched Steam, it was all gone. Like, all of my non-Steam games just mysteriously disappeared. It was very strange. But the thing was, it took a long time to set up. So I was like, alright, this whole adding a non-Steam game thing is really unstable. I'm just not messing with it. And that was years ago. And now after all this time, I'm finally like, alright, we can add that stuff again. They seem to have fixed whatever the problem was. I had a couple of tester games I added a while back, and they've stuck around, so that's cool, man. So like, I added Minecraft. I can pick Minecraft out now, and mostly smaller games. A game called RO9 that I did a review for way back in the day. RO9 is like, it's like a first-person dungeon crawler that you can play with one button, right? But the gag is that there's 9 different instances of the game going at once that you all have to keep track of. So if you step forward, all 9 instances, all 9 separate characters playing independently of each other, all step forward at the same time. So like, if you have one character that's about to, like, walk into a pit, so you have to make a left turn, everybody makes a left turn. So so that's added to Steam now and stuff. It's pretty cool, man. I'm hoping to spend some time making some custom Steam library icons for some of the games that don't have them. Like, I added FamiTracker to my Steam account, or to my Steam launcher. And FamiTracker doesn't have a Steam banner on the website I use to get custom Steam banners, so I actually had to make one from scratch. Which wasn't too hard. There's a standardized size. You just went into MS Paint and added a screenshot of FamiTracker, and then I put the logo over it. Not too bad. A little extra effort, but it is what it is. So I spent that time doing some curation. And curation is one of these things where it's like 20 minutes fixing things up right, can make things a lot easier down the line. I just wish that, like, this is one of these things where it's like, I wish that I could use the GOG Galaxy client and make shortcuts that would launch them from Galaxy, so that I could say, like for example, I have Epic Pinball on GOG Galaxy. I would like to make a Steam library icon for Epic Pinball that actually launches it through Galaxy, and thus will keep track of my time. That'd be cool. I don't know. Does that make me a TISM warrior? I don't know. What are you going to do? What do you got? I'm a full spectrum warrior, ladies and gentlemen. Full spectrum. On the spectrum. So here's a little launcher trick for you. Some of you guys might be familiar with this. That you can use. This is any shortcut that you make in Windows, but it applies on Steam when you're adding non-Steam games. If you put in, if you right-click on a non-Steam game, I think this accounts for most games, but it has to point to an executable somewhere. So if you find the path of the executable, right, it's usually in parentheses. Not parentheses, quotation marks. However, hang on a second. 4-way stop. That guy will go, and then I'll go. Yeah, so rather than just putting one set of quotation marks and then have that the path to the executable, you make two sets of quotation marks. Quotation marks, both sets, and then a space, and then another set of quotation marks. And in the first two, you put the path to the executable, and in the second two, you put the file that you want to open with the executable. So why does that matter? If let's say you're only, you get an NES emulator all set up, but you only got that NES emulator for one certain game. Well, great. Now you can make your Steam library. You can make a shortcut that opens, NEStopia.exe, and then with NEStopia, open it with, Contra.nes. Congratulations, you got a Steam library icon that goes directly to Contra on the NES. That's the basic idea. So one thing that I want to do is, not just with Steam, but in general, I want to use this trick for opening DOSBox. Open DOSBox, and then in the second set of parentheses, put the executable you want to load in DOSBox. That way you can make a shortcut that goes directly to Castle Wolfenstein is the one I want. That's a MS-DOS game from the 80s that I go back to on a regular basis. That's fun stuff. So I did a trick with that on my old computer where there was a custom. Well, I guess this didn't need to use the same trick. Well, yes, it did. Did it? I can't remember how I did it. All right, so this was the end result. I had a custom Steam library icon for Polybius. You guys know Polybius. It's the game that doesn't exist. There's an urban myth around it that MK Ultra program used it to try and control people's minds or something like that. People like to talk about Polybius. So if you go to the Steam icon library, right? So this website that has a big database of Steam library icons. They have library icons for Polybius. So I went ahead and downloaded one, and I opened up a non-Steam game and added a shortcut to Steam. I gave it that icon and called it Polybius, and it just went direct to when you clicked on it, it went directly to this weird meme video of He-Man singing the Four Non-Blondes song. Good times. But I needed to get Game Ranger set up. That was an important one. Battlefield 2 is a game I have on Steam. That's where the multiplayer has been long since closed for Battlefield 2. Because I guess that's Electronic Arts, right? It's DICE, and DICE is a child company of Electronic Arts or something like that. I don't know how it works, but the multiplayer got closed for this game in a mass closure. It happened several years back. EA closed a bunch of multiplayer games all at once, and some of them were really, really big name titles. That was one. Command & Conquer Red Alert 3 was another one that happened at the same time. But Battlefield 2, if you go on Game Ranger, there's servers for it. Game Ranger has a server browser, and you can actually still play Battlefield 2 online. And it's probably been like, oh man, it's probably been like a year by now since I did it. But the last time I checked, you could get on and play a game of Battlefield 2 with like 50 people, and it was still populated. People were just going in through Game Ranger now as opposed to using the front end server browser or game browser, which doesn't work anymore. So I want to play Battlefield 2. That's kind of a bug I've had lately. So I had to get Game Ranger hooked up, and now I can launch it through Steam, and good times are had by all. So I would like to try some Battlefield 2 this weekend if I could. See if it can still be launched in multiplayer using Game Ranger. That would be fun. Well, we're 11 minutes in already. Jeez Louise. All right, well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to send you guys back to the studio because I know this week is going to be the Chiptunes Win Volume 8 week, so I won't take up too much time here. I'll see you guys back there. All right. So before we do the fail bag, I want to do one more track off this Chiptunes Win thing, because this next one is from Pice, P-I-C-E. Now, this guy I bumped into on Reddit, and what was his thread about? I asked him to make a discography purchase option on Bandcamp, and he did. He was like, "Okay, I can do that." And then I was able to buy his whole discography because he did that, which was really awesome. And here he is. I had no idea who he was at that point, but now here he is on Chiptunes Win, Volume 8. And let me tell you, his discography's got some good stuff. So this is somebody to check out. This is Pice off of Chiptunes Win. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Alright, back again in the studio, everybody. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. You know what time it is. It's time for the fail bag. Come on now, it's just you here, it's just me here. We got a bit of a thin fail bag compared to last week. No big essay, no gigantic email from Hemrock, unfortunately, as much as I like those. But we do have a few comments from my pals over on YouTube. And it starts with a few from Gaming Beast, who was going through the backlog of videos. left one on the Cardboard Fever video saying, "Make sure and subscribe." You know, he's making jokes about when I opened a secondary channel for like Magic the Gathering and stuff. And I haven't been back in there for like 3 months, but I still want to do stuff with that channel. Magic the Gathering it like sprang to life in my household like all at once. I was getting booster packs and everything was good, and then my kids started fighting whenever we would try to play, so it kind of died out a little bit. But I still want to do stuff with that channel, so I don't know. He, on the didn't make it on Battle of the Bits thing, he says, I think it's awesome that you tried, and you can try next time too. You got the talent for sure. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Episode 296. That was last week. He writes, watch the first 2 episodes of The Boys, and I do enjoy it. They changed some minor things, but so far it's a good adaptation. I wonder how much of the really messed up scenes they'll show. Armored Warriors is great for sure. I do love Captain Commando. Battle Circuit is pretty fun. And for the crazy setting and the little RPG elements, I'd play that one too. I like King of Dragons, but it feels like a Kmart version of the D&D beat-em-ups. Also from Capcom, of course. Battle Circuit has 4-way player support. I'd love to try and get some players together for that. But we'll finish Knights KOR, Knights of the Round for sure. Might make a cool vid. I really think I should really talk about other beat-em-ups that have not gotten a home release yet. Question of the Beast. What would you choose for a beat-em-up that you would make? Keep on trucking, broski. All right. Growing up, my favorite game was River City Ransom. Now, to date, River City Ransom remains on my top 3 video games. The number 1 game being Quake, and then Wizardry 5 and River City Ransom are both tied for the 2nd spot. Those are my top 3 video games. So River City Ransom is a hugely important game to me growing up. I like River City Ransom Underground. I think that's an awesome game. I'm interested in River City Girls when that comes out. Didn't quite jive with Scott Pilgrim versus the World, but I think that's because I was first introduced to Scott Pilgrim with that live-action movie, and I think the guy's name is Michael Cera from Arrested Development. I hate him so much that it just turned me off to the entire franchise altogether. There was one point where the soundtrack to that movie, which by the way got Anna Managuchi on it, was available on vinyl for $10, like a bright red vinyl record, and I turned it down just because it had Michael Cera on the cover. And no, not doing that. So yeah, I would make a game reminiscent of River City Ransom, even though we have several of those now. Oh, could always use another one. And you talked about The Boys. I actually finished watching The Boys start to finish, and I loved it because it was different from the normal superhero thing. It had superheroes in it, but it was very different. It was not nearly as dark as the comic, like not even close. But it had way more of a coherent story than the comic did. So pros and cons. It's its own thing, and I know this is really difficult for comic book guys, but you have to kind of take it as it's an independent new series that's loosely based on the comic book called The Boys. You know what I mean? It's not the same thing. There's pretty big differences, but you know, any adaptation is going to have that way. I think it might be easier for me to roll with it because even though I read the original Boys comic, I wasn't a huge fan. Like, it had some cool moments, but I wasn't stuck on it. Makes it easier for me to like an adaptation. Thanks for the comments, bro. It's always good to hear from you, man. And by the way, I'm looking to catch you on so we can play games again. Even though we've now tried twice to finish Knights of the Round and didn't make it, I still enjoyed it. I still want to play another game like that. I did actually go back and finish that by myself, by the way, Knights of the Round. So I've now beaten every game in the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle. So the only achievement I have left to get is to play all of the games online, and I've confirmed through various achievement hunting websites that you just have to play each one for a few seconds with an actual person. And I've tried starting a multiplayer lobby and just starting them alone, and that wasn't enough to unlock the achievement. So yeah, we definitely got to play some Battle Circuit. We got to play some of those games. We're going to make it happen. How we doing now? Oh, we got a few more here. I can hear him doing jumping jacks outside the door. All right. Death Adder writes, I played some Torchlight for the first time last night. Seemed cool. Like a good game to listen to podcasts to. Also, dang, episode 300 is coming up. Maybe I'll leave an audio comment, Balzac style, on $2.99. You know what, Death Adder? Maybe you should shock everyone and come on the show. Can we make that happen? I know it's like a little icky, a little like nerve-wracking to actually speak in real time. It's not something you're a big fan of, I know. But we could just do like a 10-minute drop-in segment if that makes it more comfortable, and you could just like BS about how Death Adder Super Show is going and all that stuff. I think that would, and we haven't had a guest on TCR in a long time. I think that would be cool. But an audio comment would be awesome. All right, so you played Torchlight. Torchlight's a great game, man. I like the art style. I like the feel, the flow. It's a great game. The mods are awesome too. I have, let's see. The Torchlight, the first Torchlight needs some sort of mod manager. The second game fixed that, but the first one, like, it had amazing mods, but it took me a while to figure out how to get them installed. But you can add like additional vendors to the town, right? And then there's a vendor in town which will enchant one of your items, but there's a chance that it could strip everything out. You can put in a mod so that nothing can be stripped out. You can mess with the pets. You can add new classes. All kinds of stuff. Yeah, I think Torchlight is a great game. I've played through that all the way, start to finish, many times. Well, several times. Probably like played all the way through it twice, and I was on my way through the third time, I think, when I played it last. So yeah, that's a good choice in games, my friend. Mecha Menace writes in, I think this is more of a golden age of Wii collecting than PS3. While I do believe collectors will buy up the good games on the PS3, Nintendo always has been the babysitter since the Atari died. Those Nintendo babies will grow up one day and hyper pay $1,000 for Disney's Violetta Rhythm and Music, even though it's just like any other shovelware from that next gen, except it's in low supply. Look what the babies are paying for Mario Sunshine now, $50 to $60. That's the price of the cube itself. The price of the cube itself is going up, even though everything you can do on a cube you can do on most Wiis, minus the Game Boy player, using significantly cheaper component cable. I think it's a numbers game. The more owners / players are growing up with a console, the more likely it is that you'll have more of a fan base 20 to 25 years later and get it taken by the hype of collector premium chump prices. Nintendo's usually maintained the top seller spot among each generation, and the Wii sold more during that gen. I'm more curious about the price of hardware in the future. Will the Wii crap out? If they crap out, are those problems easily fixable? I feel anxious about leaving so many $5 Wiis at garage sales and thrift stores. Yeah, you and me both, brother. It's not like the system takes up a lot of space. It's definitely the most compact, not bigger than it has to be, bog standard with no adornments, game-playing box Nintendo has ever produced. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The ironic thing about the shovelware from the Wii and the DS is that even though there's tons of it, how many people are going to hold on to games which are worth nothing? You think that the rarity increases when they get trashed. Don't worry, though. There are pallets of unsold copies in warehouses that are gathering dust. Non sequitur. Recommendation for those who want non-pirated CD copies of Witchcraft 3. Buy a CD set for a few bucks. Download a CD crack. Game Copy World is still around. Oh, wow. How about that? You know, it's funny. When I installed my copy and then installed the one from the Blizzard site, I could feel the difference. It's like, oh yes, just not having to deal with putting the CD in the drive. Oh yes, well worth it. I never did take the time to figure out CD cracks, but I know they're a thing as well. Some of those I wouldn't mind doing just so that I could play like some of my own CD-based games and not have to put the CD in. Not because I want to pirate them, but just because I want to be able to, you know, enjoy my own collection, which I've paid for, in my own way. Yeah, I feel you about those copies of, game consoles. When I see an Xbox 360 or more so the Wii, because the 360 had the red ring. When I see them just chilling up at the thrift store and they're only a few bucks, it's like, I know I have one already, but You know, I know they're going to go away. It's not going to last forever. Swingle writes, Golden Age in terms of potential resale value, for sure. PSN has done a better job curbing the price of the PS2 and PS3 games, and it'll take longer to become appreciated. Although I'm positive that the Wii has a special case because of how often the mainstay Wii games were rebundled. I mean, how many Mario games on the Wii are worth more than $15 13 years later? It's hard to maintain the childlike wonder when waggling. Yeah, you're right about that. Oh, there's more. But wait, there's more. Still, for me, paying $5 to $10 per PS3 game is still cheaper than renting from Hollywood Video for a week, so I won't be complaining for some time to come. You know, gentlemen, I think there's only 2 games I can think of for the Wii that I really want to get that I don't have. One is Fritz Chess, because if you guys recall, I have I have an affection for collecting chess-related video games, and Fritz Chess was a PC chess suite. It wasn't much of a video game. It was more like a software suite for chess, chess analytics on the PC, and they actually made a copy of it for the Wii, and it's somewhat rare. It's like, last I checked, it was like $45 to $50. I don't know what it goes for now for a chess game. I want to get myself a copy of that. I also want to get myself a copy of Trackmania on the Wii. Trackmania was a favorite game in my household when my kids were just a little bit younger. Now, not so much. My son's kind of moved on from it, which kind of breaks my heart a little bit, to be honest, because that's a great game. It's like just a standard racing game, but you know, they add like ramps and stuff. Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. I really dig Trackmania. All right, Mecha Menace responds, the Wii, and possibly the Wii U, are a unique experience for sure. In hindsight, it's easy to see that developers experimented. Unlike failed platforms like the 32X, there are plenty of games solely released on the Wii that make use of its features. Thankfully, those games are in better supply than Virtual Boy stuff. I feel ambivalent towards the Wii resale. Could all those Color dinosaurs really be worth something? By the time of the Wii, oh jeez, I'm getting tired and I'm having trouble reading. By the time of the Wii, weren't games cheap as chips to produce? Also, I'm unclear on what options a publisher has for stock that hasn't been sent to stores because of poor sales from initial distribution. And what happens to unsold stock currently in stores? Do some distributors buy back and send that to the publisher? Swingle responds, about 4 months ago I saw an auction on eBay, and that auction had 100 sealed copies of Metroid Other M. I'm guessing Nintendo doesn't have a buyback policy, and the individual distributors sell off their remains in bulk. Typically, buyback programs are to maintain a certain supply limit to an... Oh, hang on. I know what that sound means. That means my eBay account just dinged. What do we got? Oh, look at that. Somebody's buying my Wii copy of Call of Duty World at War. Oh, boy. Well, that's a nice surprise. All right. I'm sorry. Where were we? Right. Other M. 100 copies of Other M. Typically, buyback programs are to maintain a certain supply limit to ensure the store that they'll reimburse them for downtime associated with holding their money in a game. The rest will auction off the lot of shelved copies. That's how I got 400 Xbox DVD remotes about 9 years ago. It's generally preferred to fire sale products via auction than buy back and destroy the product. That's how I think about it. Hardware electronics are the only real products that get sent back for destruction. Besides, of course, the products are violating safety guidelines. All right. There's more in this thread, so I'm just going to fire through it. 2 more from Mecha Menace. People are lacking the bare necessities, aren't asking for electronics. You are wrong about that. It makes sense that clothes and food get written off, donated to those people before Nintendo's. Okay, maybe you're not wrong about that. Alex Swingle says, at Alex Swingle, at what price did the Metroid lot end? And there's no more replies. You know what? I'd actually like to know the answer to that. I've got a copy of Metroid Other M. And I think we've got one more, and that's where we're at now. And this one's from Desm101. He writes, yeah, when the NES came out, I asked for it for Christmas, and I got an Atari 2600 Junior. I was kind of disappointed at first, but I ended up playing the heck out of it. Cool to hear your thoughts on those classic Capcom beat-em-ups. I don't have the collection, but many of those games I'm super familiar with from seeing them in arcades or playing them on MAME. The robots and armored warriors will show up in a fighting game called Cyberbots, which includes the guy Jin from Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Another of my favorite beat-em-ups is Battle Circuit. Cool episode, man. Don't sweat it if you need to take a break to welcome the newest member of your family. Desm, thanks, man. Thanks so much. It's good to hear from you, brother. Hope your stuff is going well. I hope you're working hard on your Bandcamp account and getting an album together. I'm still waiting for that to come out. All right, boys and girls. We're an hour and 1 minute in. 1 hour, 1 minute, and 15 seconds in. And it's time to end the show. So whatever's brought you here, I hope your life is going well. And just keep at it, man. Don't give up. Because one day you can feel like the walls are caving in on you, and one day you can feel like you're doing okay. So just keep hanging on. I'm wishing for the best. See you guys next Monday.